Hello, friends. Robert Bevan here, author of the Caverns Creatures series of comedy, fantasy novels, and short stories. With me is Sam West, and today we're going to be talking about the spell Reincarnate. All right, Sam. I think our listeners at home know that you're excited about this one.
I love
You've
Reincarnate.
mentioned it a few times.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I'm excited to talk about it with you. Let's start off. What does this spell do?
For one 5th level spell slot and a cast time of a whole hour, and the material cost of 1,000 gold diamond, like most resurrection spells, they have some egregious material component. You get to bring some undead back from the dead, but as long as they haven't been dead for 10 days, they have to be at least 10 days fresh. Whenever they come back, they get a whole new body, and that new body is determined at random. And that's one of my favorite things to hear in Dungeons & Dragons, is something determined at random. So you roll a d100, and the race of the character changes to be whatever the rolled result is, with exotic races looking like they have a slightly lower hit rate than the non-exotic races and stuff like that. Like the table isn't all evenly distributed, but there are a whole bunch of basically the PHB races available. So, for example, if you get 1 through 4, you become a Dragonborn. If you get a 22 through 42, you become some kind of elf, and then it's divided into dark elves, high elves, wood elves, depending on which ones you get in those tiers. You can turn into gnomes, halflings, humans, tieflings, the works. Anything in the PHB, even the exotic races, you can come back to life as. And all of your old racial traits are gone, and you get all the new racial traits of the creature you came back to life with. You get all your life experiences still. You still remember doing all the things you did as a gnome now that you came back as a tiefling. But you get this fun little character shift where now you're like, oh, I was playing this gnome, and now I'm playing a gnome that has come and been reincarnated as a tiefling and has to handle life now in walking in these different shoes. I think this is one of the perfect ways to like keep the essence of a character and give it just enough of a shakeup, just enough of a shift that you'll always remember that this character died. You'll always remember sort of how these weird little role-playing traits started to shift and change through the reincarnated being different race. And you'll end up with this pretty cool experience and kind of this character that's grown and shifted in its own ways that you can very clearly track. I don't know. I think the spell is really excellent at both saying there was a major event that occurred, a death of a character, and this is the consequences of that death without it being an actual, like, pretty severe penalty, which I'm a huge fan of.
Well, I mean, could it be a severe penalty though? Like, say you're a wizard, like I don't remember. Does 5e have like a minimal intelligence to be able to cast certain level spells? Or
yes, well, I mean, it has for multi-classing rules, yes, and your spell save DCs and everything are going to be affected by your intelligence score and whatnot.
For multi-classing, but like to say I'm an idiot. I've got a 4 intelligence, and I want to be a wizard.
It doesn't change your class or anything. It just changes your race. You're not re-rolling into new classes or backgrounds or anything like that. You're keeping all that and just getting your new race.
Can a wizard cast 8th or 9th level spells with a low intelligence?
Yes.
Oh, all right. I don't know. All right, that's a change in rules since previous editions.
Yeah, you can play a wizard with 10 int or 8 int even, and as long as you don't care about your spell save DC, you're right as rain.
Well, I mean, I still care about it.
Yeah.
Which is why this one really kind of hurts me a little bit. It just thinking about worst case scenarios, Yeah, it could be fun to play the little gnome barbarian or whatever, but I don't know. It's cute for a session, and then I don't know. But go ahead. What do you love about this?
Okay, so out the gate, I want to comment quickly because you were definitely like touching and dancing around it. The racial ability adjustments, I think, are the biggest pain point a lot of people have whenever they think about being reincarnated, right? So let's say you are the halfling that gets reincarnated, halfling rogue, and you get reincarnated as I don't know, something like a Goliath, or I think that's not really an option in this version, but you could get like Dragonborn, have +0 dex, lose a +1 to your dexterity modifier, feel pretty crappy about that, right? The new Tasha's racial rules give you a variant that lets you pick any +2 you'd like and any +1 you'd like to any of the races you're playing. And I would advocate that if that's a concern of yours, just pop up to your DM and be like, okay, I got my character reincarnated. There are new variant racial rules anyway that are probably getting published and pushed in 5.5 anyway. It's been highly hinted at that they are. Can I just use the same ability score attributes and just change my racials? And the vast majority of the time your DM is gonna be like, yeah, it's perfectly fine, whatever, sure, that works. It's an official book, works for me. And there'll be other DMs that'll be like, I don't even care if it's an official book. Go for it. I want you to have fun playing your character. And that'll circumnavigate a lot of the feel bads out the gate as far as like the my character was built to do a thing and now it's slightly worse at that thing. That's where I'll start. Beyond that, though, there'll be some people who'll be like, well, I took a half orc because I got savage attack, or I took I played a Asmar because I had this really busted rage-based feature, which if you haven't played an Asmar before, oh my god, their racial ability is better than the barbarian class ability. It's ridiculous. But losing that can be a pretty big hit. Losing your flight speed as an Aarakocra can be a pretty large hit. Also, the term Aarakocra or Arachroa, or however the bird peoples are pronounced, I've never figured it out, and I will never figure it out. And I'm sorry, internet. I'm sorry that I pronounced it wrong. Anyway, the gist of it is losing those important big racial traits can be a feel bad for some people. I get it. I think Reincarnate is at its best whenever you have as high variance as possible. And while the PHB options can be fun, I think if you're just playing on races in the PHB, I would recommend rolling just the PHB table, not worrying about changing those. That's fine. If you are playing outside expanded races, I would just Google around until you could find like a list of all the races plugged into a Reincarnate table and then just roll on that instead. Because you're going to have a better variety of options. You're going to have a higher hit of being like, well, I was an Aarakocra, I was a variant tiefling, and now I'm a water genasi. And you get different cool abilities that come with it, right? Going and being a Harengon after being a GIF is going to be a little bit of a large shift in abilities that are going to be a lot more noticeable, and the abilities that have been printed after the PHB tend to be a little bit bigger and more exciting. So adding those races on to the Reincarnate table can be a way to sort of give you the same feeling of I have cool, awesome, nifty racials to do, outside of just being like, I got the dwarf proficiencies. Woo. So yeah, I would say like if that's the kind of environment you're playing in, that's like an outside the PHB, this isn't necessarily a very new table, and we're kind of like doing some cool builds and we want to have cool racials, I would recommend finding tables that even like maybe don't even include the PHB races. Make your own D100 table that just splits up evenly the new races that have exciting features and just roll on that instead. Obviously talking work with your DM on this, but I think the soul and element of it being you now have a different class or a different character experience to play with that's just your old character, but with a little bit of a shift, a little bit of some new toys to play with, and lost a little bit of the old toys. It can be a really rewarding experience. It can take some really interesting narrative and character beats that were like, well, as a GIF, I used to be a giant hippo person, and now I'm 3.5 feet tall, and I have to figure out how to deal with that circumstance. I have to figure out exactly how I'm going to be using, the turtle shell as a new bonus to being going from like a GIF monk to a turtle monk is a very different character in appearance, but can still function and do similar enough things that you're going to have like, oh yeah, I remember how this character works. I can still do cool things with this character. I just have new tools to try out different things and slightly change up your play pattern, and not like such a dramatic way that you can't play your old character, but in just enough of a neat little way that you'll remember, be like, yep, this character died and is back as a different form and has to do slightly different things. I think that's neat.
Yeah, it is neat, but I don't know. I guess I think we've been through this before. I get attached to the characters I play, and like I don't know. It feels like too much of a change. Like, all right, you're changing to this thing. Yeah, if I wanted to be that thing, I'll start a new game and roll a new character. But yeah, I just feel like I'd spend the whole time like, all right, I'm going along with the adventure. I'm saving my gold. Once I get to 1,000, I'm gonna give it to the cleric and shoot myself in the head with a crossbow bolt. Let's try this again.
Okay, well, one, I adore that idea, right? Of just the character that's really upset that they rolled gnome and are just like offing themselves every long rest and just trying to reroll until they get a better race. I think that's delightful and honestly a selling point of this spell, not necessarily a detriment like you're making it sound. I think that I definitely will acknowledge this spell is not for everyone. I think there are a lot of people like you that are like, no, I built my character the way I want to play this character, and if I wanted to play a different character, I'd build a different character. And that's entirely valid, entirely reasonable. I don't think it's like a particularly far stretch to say that it is a large shift in how you would be conceivably going forward with a character, right? Like it becomes a little bit less of your own, a little bit more random. On the other hand, I do think there are a lot of people that love the kind of variance that appears. There's a reason why I think I've played with like 2 Draconic sorcerers in all of my time running PHP options, and at least 7 or 8 wild magic sorcerers, right? I know plenty of people who just play wild magic sorcerer because it's one of the only like really random, crazy, wild options in the player's handbook. And having a spell that does something big, wild, and wacky, but it does it in a way that's kind of constrained to say you're still going to be playing Dungeons and Dragons. You're not turning into a potted plant randomly in the middle of a big battle. You're turning into a reasonable creature still. Like all of the creatures that are listed are going to have some meaningful, new, impactful stuff that you can do. Nothing's going to be like, oh yeah, you turn into a toad and lose all of your abilities and have negatives to all your stuff. You're always getting something decent. It's a good kind of variance that appeals to people that like the high randomness, high wackiness situations that come out of it. And while for sure there'll be people that'll be like, I would rather roll a new character than be reincarnated, I think there will be also a lot of people like myself that are like, oh yeah, I can't wait to see what happens whenever this half I've been playing for 11 levels comes back into something completely different.
All right, question.
Mhm.
I was a wood elf.
Mhm.
Now I'm a dragonborn.
Okay.
Am I attracted to reptilian women or still elven women?
Listen, that's something you got to settle inside. I can't answer that one for you. What you're attracted to is your business,
me personally.
specifically in the D&D space.
Wow.
Listen, you can that's something where you go with, hey group, are we gonna talk about this? And some tables will get a whole bunch of laughs out of it. Others will be like, gross, no. So yeah, your mileage may vary, but there you go. That's Sam's answer.
Oh man. All right, well, you got a score for this one?
I think this is a 3. It's resurrection magic still, and it's definitely not like it's the revivify is the only one you ever need. That's the only 4, so that one kind of like defeats death. This is way more expensive. It's a 5th level slot. It's definitely not going to be for everybody. There are a lot of people that would never ever want this cast on their character. I think there are a lot of people that would like to have this cast on their character and have a lot of fun with it, and it does happen. So I think it is definitely going to not be even for most tables, because I know a lot of people that even want the randomness and variance would probably just like, oh yeah, it's fine, my character, I'm going to just roll something new up as opposed to come back as something slightly different. It's not enough variance for some people, but for the tiny little middle ground that is, I want my old character still, but I'm pretty happy and excited to see them be a little bit different. This is where that falls.
Yeah, I wouldn't even want to come back as like a different human. Maybe like me with hair.
Sure.
All right.
What if you came back and you were a dragon and attracted to lizard lemon? That could work.
There are no lizard women in my neighborhood.
That's unfortunate for you.
Not that I know of, anyway. I haven't seen them pull their skin back.
Yes.
All right, that's for another video. All right.
Our channel takes a very steep turn in direction.
All right, that was Reincarnate. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Thank you for watching. If you found this helpful, informative, or entertaining, I'd really appreciate it if you hit the like button below. You needn't smash it. A gentle tap will suffice. If you want to see more videos like this, subscribe to the channel. And make sure you check out the links in the description, where you'll find my Caverns Creatures series of comedy fantasy novels, Sam's full review of the spell, and other fun things.